Hi everyone. I wanted to take some time to do a longer video about Lead to Excellence. I've had a lot of questions come in, a lot of direct messages about why is this important? Why did you decide to write the book? What are some things we're going to find out in the book? So I said, you know what? Let me have a little bit longer video. So if you don't have time right now, go ahead and hit save so you can come back to it at a later day and be able to listen to the whole thing. So what I'd like to do in this video is tell you why it's important, why it was important for me to write the book. I'd also like to do a reading. I'd like to read a little bit from the prologue so that you can actually hear some of the things that I wrote in the book. I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the things that you're going to learn and discover in the book, and a couple of my other thoughts. So again, this is going to be a little bit longer than normal. So if you don't have time right now, go ahead, hit save or snapshot it so that you can remember to come back to it when you do have the proper amount of time to listen to this. Before we go any further, the first thing I want to say is a big thank you to everyone out there. Lead to Excellence, the Guide to Modern Leadership, went straight to #1 on Amazon, and I couldn't be more appreciative of all of the support that you've given me. You've reached out to your friends, you've reached out to your family, and you've purchased the book yourself, so thank you so much. This is really phenomenal. When I was thinking about writing the ebook about a year ago, everyone has doubts and you have questions, and is this going to be good? Will people like it? And from the response, I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I would also say if you have purchased the book, please go back into Amazon, Apple Books, or whatever form you use to, Goodreads, whatever form you use to purchase the ebook. Go in there, put a 5-star rating in there, and leave us a nice comment. What that does is it actually helps others discover the book, and it increases it in the algorithm so that there's continued success for the book. So let's start there. Why did I even write the book in the first place? As it says, as I talk a little bit about in the prologue, this is personal for me. I think everyone out there has probably had more bad leaders than they've had good ones. You can probably name the good ones on one hand, and the bad ones on hands, fingers, toes, everything else. So I wanted to create a guide so that people who are aspiring to be a leader or those who are already leaders could actually have something to go off of. A lot of times there are books out there that talk about the what, but I really wanted this book to be about the how. How do I become a leader? And it really starts internally. Anyone who watches this channel and watches the videos that I do sitting here or some of the videos that I do after finishing a run knows that a lot of leadership, a lot of goal setting, goal achievement, goal attainment really comes from internal conversations you have with yourself. So you'll notice if you actually go through Lead to Excellence, a lot of the questions in there are for you. They're things for you to ponder. Why do you want to be a leader? Why do you want to be a leader of people? I think we all know and have friends and family members who are not having a good time at their job. And yes, some of that might be attributed to them and what they're doing. But what I've found is in many cases, it's due to leaders not setting clear expectations and knowing what they want of their people, which causes all types of other problems and frictions. So I want to set out and write something that would directly address that problem. And so that's really the why, for why the book was written. What I'd like to do now is take some time and read to you from the prologue. I've seen, you look at these book festivals on C-SPAN. I don't know who watches C-SPAN anymore, but I do. And they do have readings. It's not going to be a long reading. It's going to be a short reading, but I wanted you to hear from me a little bit about the book. So here is a little piece of the prologue. Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. 12th night. The fruited plain, and to a greater extent, the world, is inhabited with billions of miserable people. There are innumerable sources for this misery, but in developed countries, one of the main drivers of misery is poor corporate leadership. There's an estimated 3.29 billion people in the global workforce, and of that number, how many of them have managers and leaders who are stellar? Leaders who care about them and invest in their success. Leaders who go to work each day with the ethos that in order for them to achieve their goals, their employees must achieve theirs. To be blunt, the workforce is riddled with bad managers who make bad decisions, which leads to employees who feel undervalued. This feeling of undervalue leads invariably to attrition, but it also leads to something much worse. It leads to stress on the individual, sleepless nights, arguments with those who they are close with, and general unhappiness. Do I have your attention yet? This is not some droll booklet on leadership. If followed, what is contained in this resource are the essential elements of converting misery to happiness. The ways in which poor leaders influence the mental state of their employees has not yet been fully calculated and explained. Most of you reading this have had more poor managers than good ones. Yet the problem persists. Masses are being led, instructed, and influenced by ineffective and ignorant managers who don't know the effect they have on their employees. This subject is personal to me. Not only have I been affected, but those I love have been affected, and I'm sure the same is true for you as well. For those reasons, the eradication of ineffective management is the primary objective of my life's work. That is how I start the prologue. It goes on a little bit more, but that is how I start the prologue. And I specifically chose that piece to read to you because oftentimes we don't understand the source. What I mean by that is, why do people do things? I think as you were listening, you probably were shaking your head going, yeah, that is right. Yeah, that is right. There are sleepless nights. Yeah, there are more poor managers than good ones. And then you probably went, why? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we generally promote those who are very good in their jobs. So an individual contributor gets promoted, and promotions oftentimes means that they're leading people. Leading people is a complicated task. People are complicated things. And just because you're good at manufacturing the widget doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to inspire, encourage, motivate, and drive for results through a group of people. That's what happens. So, what are some of the things that you're going to discover in the book? Well, the first thing you're going to notice right after the prologue is I go deep into a story about me. It's personal, but it's a true story about myself and a manager I had at the time. You'll be introduced to a problem, and the book is really book-ended with this story. And at the end, you'll see how that problem ended. What was the resolution of that problem? Did we solve it? Did we not solve it? You'll also see that there is a personal inventory section in there. There is really, in a lot of the things I talk about, the internal conversation you have with yourself is extremely important. What is going on up here? What is that conversation like? So you're going to be asked to do some things in this book. Take a personal inventory of yourself. This isn't one of those books you can just take to the beach and read. Although you can take it to the beach, it's one of those books that's really going to require all of you as you really dive deeply into the book. And there's so much more than that. You can learn how to develop a leadership philosophy. I give tips on how to attract talent to your organization. This is really a jammed-packed book. You know, for the book to be, 45, takes 45 minutes to read, about 28 pages, there's a lot of information in here. Now you might be saying, well, that's not a big book. It's only 28 pages. And that really goes to my next point. I made the book short. I made it in ebook. It's not in hardback. It's not in paperback. It's able to be on your device, whether that's an iPad, whether that's a Kindle, whether that is a iPhone or Android phone. I wanted you to have this in your pocket so that you could be able to go back to it and refer to it. One of the key elements for learning and really achieving great things is repetition. Think about it this way. If you hear a song that you really like, what do you generally do with that song? You generally play it over and over and over again. And at some point, it gets to the point where you know all the lyrics to the song, all the ad-libs, and you can even sing the song without the music. You can hear the music in your head as you're singing along. Now, maybe you're not a good singer, but that's the point. You can hear it. We oftentimes take books, 300-400 pages, and we read through it once, and that's it. I wanted to make sure that once you had your first read through, it was easy to be able to go back to a particular chapter, to a particular section of the book, paragraph, sentence, and refer to it over and over again. Repetition is really key. In order to lead to excellence, it's almost as though you would have to put a lot of these sentences and concepts together again. And the best way to do that is through repetition, reading the book over and over again. There's certain chapters that I'm really asking you to go deep in yourself and ask yourself questions. And if you don't stop and pause and actually do that work, you're really not going to get all of the things out of the book that you need to. The personal inventory section, don't speed through that and go to the next section just because it's a shorter book. Really go back, read it again, reflect on some of the concepts, take a piece of paper out, answer some of those questions, and really sit with it. I really want you to sit with this book and think about a lot of the concepts. I can guarantee you that on your second or third or fourth or fifth pass through the book, you're going to be like, oh wow, I didn't even realize that. I missed something. There are a lot of gems in here. They're not hidden. They just need to go. You just need to read over and over it again to be able to recognize it and understand it. And once you start putting some of these principles in place, you'll really start to get a lot of the benefits. You know, Bob Proctor, as I said, he's one of the leading proponents of leadership. He passed away earlier this year. He said, Think and Grow Rich, a book written by Napoleon Hill in 1937, was the changing point in his life. I've read that book. I've had probably 5 or 6 pass-throughs of that book. It's a larger book, but I learned something different every time. And with this, I want it to be so short that you could have many pass-throughs very quickly, getting all the good nuggets of information over and over again. The final thing I want to say again to everyone here is thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the support you have given me personally. The book, Lead to Excellence, has been an amazing success, and it wouldn't be #1 on Amazon without you. So I thank you so much for that. Remember, if you like the book, if you purchased the book, please go back, if you haven't done so, leave us a 5-star rating and write a nice comment. It'll help others discover the book as well. Now, someone asked me, they said, hey, Andrew, is this it? Is this it? Well, this is it for now. There are more things that I'd like to do, but for right now, this is the important thing, is that we're able to get this information out to as many leaders, as many aspiring leaders as possible. I really believe that the things captured inside of this book will be able to help the 3.29 billion employees live a happier and better life, because it's teaching the people who lead them in the workplace how to be better managers. Wouldn't you like to go home and be happy and knowing that you and your manager are on the same page? That's something we would all want. So again, thank you for all of your support, and have a good one.